you'll find that perhaps in a journey or pursuit, quest or discovery into trying to understand an experience beyond your own, perhaps you'll come to the conclusion that there has been nobody who has been more underrepresented, nobody who has been the last hired, the first fired, nobody who has been the lowest of the social, classist, economic, and every system possible to the Western world than the person of color. And this is, I think, this is particularly prevalent in several areas. In quite frankly, the widespread of the entire Western hemisphere. And to me, this is no accident. This is no coincidence. This is by design, and the only people who would ever deny it are those who are content with the present circumstances of westernized living, of a culture that has actually thrived off of perhaps oppressing a particular group of people. And because of the lack of circumstances, the lack of job opportunities, the lack of access to equity in education, in just general lifestyle, and even as far as the law is concerned, there really is only the opportunity there, I would say, to expand, perhaps wake up and become aware of the facts that, quite plain and simple, this society has no interest in you, and this society does not want you. You may try and trick yourself into being a little bit pessimistic or perhaps even critical of that conclusion. But the evidence has been displayed. And I don't know how anybody could even seek a place that has no belonging for them or for their kind or for the cause that they stand for. This is the problem that I feel like is not so much a westernized problem, but it's a problem particularly for people of color. I think there's a problem where perhaps there's a degree of being too complacent. It's almost like Stockholm syndrome, where you have been mentally, psychologically, socially, and economically forced and perhaps even controlled. However, you may not be aware of that. You accept it as the norm, right? You for some reason you convince yourself that the average citizen in the Western Hemisphere is held to the standard of the average citizen. They hold the average income. They hold rights to reasonable health care. They're held fundamentally under the law. And then there's the person of color who does not earn, should I say as a collective, the average income, who does not have a proper representation as far as the law is concerned, or even as far as society is concerned in general. The only time you really concern yourself with people of color is, I would say, when you see them on television. And that is about the closest I think the Western world ever wants to get to knowing what we have been about, and that is the issue. The fact that there has been an evident frame, there has been a frame of nature, and there has been a frame of a set belief, and a forced principle in which people of color, I would say, have been forced to live by. And the sad thing is that there is a great amount of force. Okay, no citizen in North America, whether he's middle class or low income, or whoever you choose to hold to this example, no citizen of America would ever, in their years of living and their future moving onwards, would ever accept a person of color living under quote unquote equal terms with them. And we know this to be true because people of color on average do not earn equally. Socially, we are not equal. So despite what the law has put in place, that law has already done its best to kind of categorize specific terms and conditions. For instance, we have the rights to earn income. However, 99.9% of people of color who will ever see income within the top percentile are forced into industries, whether that be sports, music, or entertainment, where they are actually taken away of their color and their identity, to the point where they have just been removed completely from the source and from the problem at hand, or so it may perceive to be as such. And this is the problem that many people fail to realize, that just because you see one person who is represented on the media, that one person does not account for the remaining masses who are still stuck trying their best to maneuver around a fair chance within the economy. The reality of the situation is it just comes down to work. That's just more work that you need to do, I would say. There is a degree of just understanding that instead of complaining about the issue, which is what I'm not trying to do, there has to be an opportunity to talk about, perhaps to be proactive, to actually take initiative, to establish programs, to establish resources and tools that could perhaps aid and benefit remaining people of color who are still stuck under these conditions. And this is the problem that I think that is probably integral to the community of color, that despite the fact that we have these so-called quote-unquote leaders, none of them have actually been noted to contribute their wealth, their knowledge, their information, and what they have received from establishing themselves within our communities. None of them have actually given that back to the community. And matter of fact, what these people end up doing is they end up giving back to the Western culture, the Western economy. They're only feeding the dollar as the rich get richer, and I would say the poor end up in a significantly bad space. And this is what I feel like needs to be truly acknowledged.